Hello and welcome to DCP SideQuest episode number 119.
Whoa.
This is the episode where we're going to speculate about the Matrix movie. The whole episode. You guys ready to jack in?
Did you see Neo's shoelaces? What does it mean?
The shoelace. Oh my gosh.
I can't believe it.
Are you guys excited about that movie or not? You feel like they're going to ruin it?
I am. I feel like I'm someone that shouldn't be allowed to talk about movies, right? Because apparently I just like.
You're like, it was a good movie, but it was missing Jar Jar Binks. So I don't know why they wouldn't put Jar Jar Binks into a rom-com with,
Exactly, right? But I'll be the same person that'll be like, oh yeah, I like Matrix 1, 2, and 3, and people are like, don't talk to me. I'll be like, I like all these films. They'll be like, this film wasn't very good. I really enjoyed it. They'll be like, there was a massive plot hole. What do you mean plot hole? I don't think I should be allowed to talk on movies.
Plot hole? It's more like imagination hole, where you get to fill in the blanks.
Exactly.
There are some movies that people tend to take like so seriously that it's like it's almost like an ideology, right? It's like it's their political party. It's like I am a Star Wars 4, 5, 6 fan, period.
Yeah.
True. You can also tell, like, if they're going to listen to you with, like, when it comes to films, because people will list their favorite films. If someone says like a really, really, like, I don't know, obscure art house film, you're like, oh, they know their movies, and then I turn around and be like, what's your favorite film? I'm like, Rush Hour, and they're like, well, we're not going to listen to you.
It's a classic.
This is you.
Rush
This
Hour
is
is
you.
so
On.
good.
It's a good movie.
Your movie critiques just went up in my book. Rush Hour is a goddamn classic.
There we go.
Eric's is like, Rush Hour is a great movie. The only thing it was missing was Jar Jar Binks.
It's true.
I had somebody contact me. This was a couple years ago, and asked me to be on like a movie review podcast as like a guest. I was like, sure.
Okay.
And they're like, usually we let the guest pick the movie. What movie would you like to pick? And I said, the remake of Dukes of Hazzard from like 2006. And they're like, never contacted me again.
I think I was contacted by the same people, and they were like, we let the guest pick the movie, and I was like, I don't really watch movies. I don't really know anything about movies. So I suggested a movie, and it's like, I haven't seen it. I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know anything about movies. If we're gonna like deep dive into the writing and the script and the tone and I'm like, I don't analyze literally anything. I've never analyzed a thing in my life.
I just want to see big explosions. That's it.
Speaking of storytelling, Watts.
Yes.
What's your hot take on Cowboy Bebop on Netflix?
I have not watched the first episode. I haven't watched any of it.
You boycotting it?
I'm not boycotting it. It's just I will watch it. I will watch it before we have our next like anime show because I would obviously want to talk about it. But from what I've seen, it seems like the first few episodes are pretty good generally. Like they're at least enjoyable, right? Like they're a good time. And then there's a certain character that they introduce that they didn't really do much to translate to live action. And it doesn't come across very well. And then I think they fundamentally changed stuff in episode 10, I want to say.
Deviated heavily from the anime?
Yeah, but like apparently in a bad way. Like people were like, I'm totally fine with this being, done differently because it's a different medium. So you do have to change some things.
Mm-hmm. They went too far. They put Jar Jar Binks in it, didn't they?
They did. Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
So I've kind of heard very mixed things. Just kind of all over the place. Or like even people really enjoying certain parts, but then after a certain point, they're like, all right, what are they doing?
Yeah.
I feel like with that, like, I mean, I need to, I haven't watched it myself. I need to watch those ones, but I feel like whenever there's a degree of those where I feel like I just need to kind of go and experience it because there's so many people that when they're like the hardcore anime fans, it's like they even if it was the best thing and they made it so faithful, they're like, I can't possibly accept this, so I'm gonna go in just knowing I'm gonna hate it. And they're like, it could literally be perfect. And they'll be like,
that's like people who read the book and then they see the movie and they're like, well, the movie sucked because it left off this, and that.
It's exactly the same thing,
They couldn't make a 72-hour movie, so yeah, they had to cut some stuff out.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's like with like anime manga. It's like I mean, generally there are sometimes the anime does have to like cut things out, but sometimes the anime adaptation is fantastic. And people are like, no, it's not as good as the manga. I'm like, it's really good. Like, so there's definitely there's a group of people that will hate it for just for the sheer existence of it. Then there'll be people that will be like,
hipsters.
okay, yeah, exactly, right. So, and then there'll be people that there might be genuine gripes. I'm not saying that all the gripes are not genuine, but I just yeah, I'm gonna watch it and see what it's
what's the equivalent of a hipster in the anime world?
Probably just someone that doesn't watch mainstream stuff. Definitely.
What is mainstream anime like?
Like Dragon Ball, Naruto, My Hero Academia.
So I know it's technically not an anime, but Arcane would definitely fall into that category now because it's way too popular.
Too popular.
Way too popular. Apparently, it's the 15th most streamed show.
Came out of that, and it was just as good, if not better, than 1, 2, and 3. Like that show is real good.
I need to watch that.
Yeah, it's crazy popular. Like I said, it's in the top 15 of most streamed shows ever.
Damn.
I mean, it's
a real good show.
Arcane, the composition that they use in their animation is like some of the best composition I've seen in like any show. Like the way that they set up all of the shots and the things that they highlight, and it's so well done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
really good.
Now.
Storytelling is really good. The like you said, the I don't know, you'd call it cinematography in like a normal movie, but whatever it is in an anime, this is really good too. Yeah. The animation is so fluid and so gorgeous.
It is.
The characters are really interesting. Like even like side characters are really interesting. It's good.
Yeah.
Animatography.
So we need to talk Halo Infinite multiplayer. It came out last week, and suddenly it was a surprise drop, which was very exciting to have that happen. It's technically
surprise, quote unquote.
Surprise, exactly.
Well, it was a surprise to Mylan. He had to gift me 20 subs because he lost the bet.
There was a lot of question marks about whether or not this was going to happen because, there was things that they data mined type of stuff where it was like, this says November 15th. And then there was a whole 20th anniversary type of thing that was going on. They were talking about Xbox and doing all that stuff. And then we knew that shows like that were planned. So it was like, are they really going to release it early? Or is this just some weird internal thing? And obviously they did, which was awesome. But it is technically beta still. And
yes,
there's a few problems.
I could say I can believe them. The other night I had a crash. When I crashed, so the game just closed. This is on PC. And my controller kept vibrating. And I was like, all right, maybe I just need to restart the game, get in a lobby, and like it will stop. No, I had to close my computer for it to stop vibrating. It was the infinite vibrating. It would not.
I've had that before. Not on this game, but I've had that before. It's weird.
Yeah,
it's very weird.
Exorcism, Ghost in the Box problem.
Yeah, like you unplug the controller and you're like, oh my god, it won't stop.
It'd be amazing if you unplug the computer and it's still going. Yeah, it's like,
still going.
Oh my god!
How do I stop it?
In chat, Jimmy Pike said that it feels more like Halo than anything 343 has done this far, and I have got to agree. This feels like they took. It feels similar to Doom 2016 in a way, in that they seem to figure out everything that makes Halo great, just like they did for Doom 2016 for Doom. And then distilled it, and then they just added like a dusting of stuff that they could add on top, like the grappling hook.
Modern.
To make it modern. Yeah.
Modern stuff, right? And man, it feels so Halo, but it doesn't feel retro. It just feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a good job.
I completely agree. As a fan of the previous games, I did not like 5. 4 I could tolerate. I was like, 4 had its moments, but 5 I was like, something's just not right. This Halo feels really good, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
And the fact that I saw today on No Post, it was like #1 game on Twitch now, which is like,
wow,
like apparently it was like, which is, I mean, like above everything else. It was literally like just chatting and then Halo were like the top things. So considering, I mean, they've just blown out of the water. Halo was a series that prior to this, barely anyone's playing, right? Because obviously it's kind of fallen from grace. So
yeah, it had a tough time cracking top spots.
They also had a tournament recently, very recently, over the weekend. And that was the best performing Halo tournament in terms of viewership.
Wow.
So it's
Well, that
it's
makes sense. Like peak Halo is way before Twitch, right?
yes, yeah.
Mm.
So it's
True,
really
yeah.
catching on in a big way. And
Yeah.
competitive Halo is obviously like even when you're just playing in quick play 4v4, it's a very competitive game. There's a
Yeah.
lot of objectives. You have to work with your team. Time to kill is very high. So
Yep.
you have to work together in order to take down people quickly. So having competitive Halo in that environment where it's an actual esport is just really
Yeah.
fun to watch.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
map knowledge and positioning is obviously something that's important for all games, but Halo specifically, it's like at least I'd say it's at least 50% of the equation of getting a kill or getting being able to 1v1 someone. Your knowledge of the map and knowledge of how you're going to position yourself and utilize grenades properly dictates a huge amount of your performance and how you enjoy the game, because if you just go in there like playing it like Call of Duty, you're going to get stomped, you know? Like you get
Yeah,
run
definitely.
over really fast. So yeah, it's interesting seeing people coming to Halo not fully understanding that, and then having issues with it, understandably, because again the time to kill is longer, so your engagements take more planning and thought process. Well, I mean, not a lot, but like more so than the typical Call of Duty or even Destiny. Destiny is much quicker time to kill. You know.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't feel like obscenely long though. It feels like if I catch two people off guard, I can kill one of them and get in a gunfight with the second one and still have a reasonable chance to win that second gunfight. It's not like you can only take care of one person at a time. If a second person comes into the room, you're completely screwed. Like you said, with grenades, like with positioning, you can take on multiple people. It's just a well-balanced multiplayer experience.
Yeah. But it's very
The
well
feel
balanced.
of the game too, just like they just nailed how a controller feels. Like they nailed how sensitive it is, like how much kind of like magnetism there is to the guns on somebody's body. Like it just really feels good, right? It's like the walk speed is good, the jump height is good. They have that, you can now grab onto ledges and pull yourself up. Like all of that stuff just makes it feel ultra fluid and
Yeah. Well, what's
real
interesting
good.
is that was in Halo 5. Like a lot of these elements were dusted into Halo 5 to bring it forward into a more modern feel, but it just didn't feel good. Like there was the controller felt off to me when I played Halo 5. I was like, what
Yeah.
is going on with this? It just doesn't feel the way it was supposed to be. And then this, it's like a 180. I'm like, oh yeah, this is how Halo feels, or like like you said, a good feeling experience. On the flip side, there is people talking about how on the I guess on the pro level that they're switching to controller instead of mouse and keyboard because apparently the accuracy tends to be higher on a controller.
Yeah, I played on PC as well with a mouse and keyboard. I switched right back to a controller. It's like I don't know what this is. I can't pinpoint. Somebody smarter than me will have to explain like why it feels the way it does with a mouse, but it doesn't feel right. If you feel disconnected almost, like there's no feedback to your actions. Like especially with a battle rifle where you really got to time your shots and get precision headshots to win. Like it just feels off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's interesting because I heard that they were having a lot of issues with nailing aim assist to make it feel good. Like a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And even with the multiplayer launching, I think they were still having issues of not really being able to figure out the problem and fix it. So I wonder if that is kind of translating to mouse and keyboard feeling a bit weird as well. Because obviously, like mouse and keyboard doesn't have the aim assist that controller does. But giving it things like bullet magnetism and all that kind of stuff does make it feel good.
Yeah.
If you have 0 aim assist and like 0 magnetism and anything, you've got like Valorant and CS:GO. But most other games tend to have like some of that there.
Yeah, a little bit of helping for the bullet
A
accuracy.
little bit of help.
Yep.
Just a little bit.
You played the first 5 hours of the campaign, right, Eric?
Yeah, I got to play through the first 4 missions. So I got to go do like some of the sort of more linear kind of traditional Halo missions, and then got to explore what they call like the Zeta Halo experience, which is like the open world stuff, which is cool. Honestly, I haven't had much of a chance to sink into multiplayer, so most of my experience has been single player. But I think it's really cool. It's interesting because I was kind of wondering how it was going to play, because obviously, if you play traditional Halo games, you kind of experience that sort of linear campaign experience where they funnel you through, have your set pieces, have all the kind of the cool experiences. So I was kind of wondering what it would feel like when they just throw you into an open world. It's like, do what you want. But I think it's quite cool because I feel like it works for different people, because you start the game and your first couple of missions are traditional linear cinematic, this, that, and the other. And then you get dropped into the map, and then it's like, well, if you want to just carry on doing the missions, you can then just select it on the map and just go to the next mission and just bypass all that stuff. But in between that, you have kind of in a sort of Ubisoft style open world, but not in the kind of repetitive, annoying, grindy way. But like you have some forward operating bases that you need to go and capture, which is just typically kill a load of enemies. Once you do that, it becomes a fast travel destination, so it's kind of like a tower, and then it reveals a load of activities around, which is quite cool. Some of those will be like, one of them might be like a bounty hunt where there'll be a named mob, go kill it, you unlock some stuff. Sometimes there are other just like structured side missions. So the one that I got to do was like, go to an area, there's a load of like oil silos you need to destroy, and then shut down this weapon production facility. I mean, basically, as you would expect in Halo, all the missions take place in the format of just kill some stuff in a different way. But still, it's quite nice to have that kind of objective. And again, like just having that freedom, because you have these bases where you can spawn vehicles in, you have all the different weapons you can get, you have access to all your tools. Just being able to freely like navigate around the world and just explore and have fun. It's actually quite cool. Like, I mean, I've only like played the first portion of it, so the one thing that kind of springs to mind is that, of course, those activities that I did quite early on are quite repetitive. So I wonder whether through the course of the campaign, if they don't change too much, am I going to want to continue to capture bases and just kill a few troops, or am I just going to be like, actually, I'm just going to select the next mission and keep going?
What do you get for doing that stuff?
So the forward operating bases is largely speaking fast travel places and the means to like swap around. If you do other activities, you get I forget the name of it, but it's basically like an honor valor kind of. I think it's called valor. It's basically just like think of it kind of like XP. It's a number that accrues, and as it accrues, you unlock more stuff in your forward operating bases. So like, for example, at the beginning, you can spawn in a mongoose and you have like one guy that can help you out. And then as you go further, you spawn in like the warthog, and then you get like the helicopter thing. I forget all the names of them. So as you get more valor, you unlock more things at your bases. So that means you can swap out to different weapons and call in different people. So there's a lot of like customization from that point of view. And then when you do some of the bounty missions, they will sometimes unlock different weapons that you can have back at the bases and stuff. So there's definitely value in doing them. And obviously in traditional Halo manner, there's also skulls around the world and other collectibles, audio logs and stuff. So for the kind of collectors out there, that's probably going to be even better than before, because you think about like in traditional Halo missions, skulls used to be hidden in like really obscure places, but in, of course, the realms of the mission. Yeah. Whereas now it's like open world. So it's like you're going to be doing some craziness for that. So I definitely think it's like a really nice thing to have, and I quite enjoyed exploring it. And also I think it's kind of important to phrase it the right way, because although it's like open, I wouldn't call it like an open world in the sense of like it's not Red Dead or GTA. Like your map is still quite small in the grand scheme of things. So you're not going to be spending like hours and hours just walking from left to right. So I feel like it probably falls more so into the kind of like wide. I don't know if wide linear is the right term, but I kind of want to sort of say like a more narrow open world. If that makes sense.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which I think suits Halo, to be honest. I feel like if they threw you into a proper like, hey, this is just Red Dead Redemption style map, go wherever you want, Chief, then it'd be a bit like, this doesn't really work. So I think, given the kind of game it is, I think they've got a good balance of like map scale and stuff to do.
Cool. When they showed that map screen with all the icons on it, and everybody went, "Oh my God, is this a Far Cry game with Master Chief?" Like, I think a lot of fears of that have been kind of pulled away by people's experience of the actual single player now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, there was definitely I did actually make this kind of Just Cause comparison in like one of my videos, because one of them was literally go there and destroy a load of silos with some like explosives and stuff. But outside of that, I think it definitely still feels very Halo. It doesn't feel like you just like you say, you just dumped like Chief in a Far Cry game. So I think they've struck a good balance with it. And again, like to anyone that decides they don't like it, don't feel like you have to do it. You can literally, like the second it gave me the open world, it's like, here's all these things you can do, but there's the icon for your next mission. So if you're like, I don't care, then go forth.
Cool. It looks good too. Like that trailer they showed last year before they delayed it, that had everybody going like, I mean, I think it looks pretty good now. Like, it doesn't look quite state of the art like you might hope from a Halo game, but I thought it looks pretty. Like, it looks very Halo. Like the color palette and the textures used. Like it just, it looks good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing with Halo has always been one of those games where it's a really weird thing, because when it comes to trying to like the discussion for like how good games look, like there's some games like Uncharted and Last of Us and those kind of games that like you stop, you take a screenshot, and it's like a wallpaper. And I feel like sometimes that's the thing. Halo, I feel like Halo, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Halo's always been one of those games where it looks great in motion. But if ever you pause it and you're like, let me really, like, I'm not going to take a screenshot and make it my wallpaper. Like, there are some fantastic sceneries and some, like, nice places to look. But generally speaking, I feel like Halo, and I guess to a degree, like, FPSs in general, are normally those kind of games that, like, they look good in motion, but the second you pause and take a screenshot, you're like, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have a Last of Us and you're like, look at the trees.
The first two Halos I really thought of as kind of technological marvels, especially on a console.
Okay.
There were definitely cool things happening on PC, like Half-Life and everything, but on a console, the first Halo and the second Halo were kind of revolutionary. Like they invented a control scheme. They looked fantastic. They ran great. Well, they ran okay, I guess.
Relatively speaking. Yeah. In 2002.
Yeah. I want to talk about Elden Ring a little bit. You guys want to bring that back for just a quick discussion?
Yes, please.
I was just watching Digital Foundry. They did a technical look at how all the consoles performed in the what was it called, the network test.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This was something I was curious about because I watched a ton of Elden Ring footage last week, and what I kept looking at was, man, this game looks like it's hitching, but I can't tell if that's YouTube or if it's somebody's capture card or what, right? But everybody says it seems to run smooth, right? Everybody who played it. So I was watching the Digital Foundry, and they were going through like the frame times and the frame rates, and they said none of the consoles are capable of hitting 60 FPS at all.
Wow.
And
really?
with the exception of if you play the PlayStation 4 version of the game on a PlayStation 5, then it can run at 60 FPS.
Interesting.
Really?
Because when I was editing, it shows like the FPS of the footage that you're editing. And it was going 60 and then dropping to like 58.8 sometimes, but then back up to 60.
Their technical footage,
the
PlayStation 5 version is the strongest running as of this time, right? The game's not out. It doesn't come out for another 3 months. So there's still time for this to change. And hopefully it will. But the PlayStation 5 version was the best. The Xbox Series X version lagged behind by like 5 to 6 frames per second at all times.
Wow.
Except for when there were like big monsters on the screen. And then it was actually ahead of the PlayStation 5 version. So like, which one do you choose based on that? Like, do you want better frame rate all the time or just when you're fighting? Like it was curious. So I'm hoping that they get that all fixed up, because man, that game looks fantastic, but I really want it to run at a stable 60 on the consoles. I don't know. I'm probably just gonna play it on PC anyway. That way I can play it on Game Deck and
3 months is
Stream Deck.
Yeah, Stream Deck. 3 months is a pretty good time for optimization. They really could be using that technical test also for hardware, smoothing stuff out.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah,
it's times like this that make me feel like I'm blessed for not being able to see these things, right? So, when we had these discussions, you're like, you play through a capture card, right? And I'm like, but when it comes to frame rate and stuff, I'm just like, I don't see this. When you were talking about the hitching, I'm like, to me, this looks smooth as butter. And I'm like, I am glad. I'm oblivious because my experiences are fantastic.
Go to have this frame rate.
The only time that I noticed something like that was like I think when I first walked into the open world and it was, I guess, loading everything.
What did you play on?
But that was PS5.
Okay.
But the rest of my experience was smooth. Yeah, I didn't have any like hitching during boss fights or during any fights at all. I didn't have any hitching or anything.
Interesting.
In chat, Furcado said that it's not concerning because it hasn't been optimized yet. But like From Software games, it's definitely concerning to me because From Software
They're
games
notorious.
not known for their amazing optimization.
I guess if it was like next month that they were dropping it, then I'd be like, that's concerning. But because they have several months, like you could do a lot of optimization in a couple months.
Maybe that's why they delayed it.
Yeah,
maybe you never know. Maybe that's why they were like, we need an extra month to kind of knock this out.
Yeah, and the network test, is probably, they're probably looking at frames for that too, but also looking at how the frames held up from all the network data and activity that was happening with that. So it was probably twofold in that sense.
I mean, it's not like they built that network test the day before they released it, right? That's probably somewhat old. It's not.
Yep.
So I'd like to see it because they have two modes, right? They have the performance mode and the quality mode, and the quality mode looks fantastic, and it runs at like 45-ish frames per second. So it'd be nice if they put a 30 FPS lock, at least optionally, on the quality mode, so you could at least have a smooth frame rate.
Yeah.
Because that might be the better option than having a variable frame rate somewhere above it. But the performance mode, if they have to pull out some fidelity, that's fine. But I'd really like to see a stable 60.
Would be nice, especially for next gen or current gen hardware. Like,
I'm pretty sure the PC version is going to be capped at 60 as well. I remember talking about it with people when I was like, oh, I don't know, I might just play on PS5. I'm not sure though, because Sekiro was really good on PC. It wasn't just like, it didn't just feel like a port that they just like threw on PC and left. But then it kind of seemed like it might also be capped at 60.
And the Elden Rings engine is derived from that Sekiro engine too, so there's a lot in common there. I think that's what they've said anyway.
But my experience was smooth. Yeah, I didn't have anything where I was like, oh god, when like the dragon flew at me or there was a bunch of fire everywhere. There was nothing that happened that made my experience bad in the network test. It was it was smooth for me.
Did you notice frame drops for you? Or did it just
No, I only noticed when looking back at the footage that it was sometimes dipping to 58 and then going back up to 60.
Yeah. I feel like that's going to be most people's experience when they play it, is that they're not going to be hypercritical about a few frame drops here and there. They're going to be bedazzled by like the landscape and a giant dragon going by.
Yeah.
And then getting their butt kicked constantly. Like you got no time to look at frames. You're dead.
Yeah, the you died is in 60 FPS.
I've been watching a lot of Elden Rings. I'm getting hyped for Elden Rings, so I decided to go back and play Demon's Souls because I never finished Demon's Souls last year. Like I got moved off of it for some other game for some reason. So I've been going back and playing that, and I've been playing it in the living room. My wife says to me, "Do you even enjoy this game?" Like, yeah.
Do you like running back to the same boss over and over?
You don't seem to be enjoying yourself.
I actually started doing like another Dark Souls 3 playthrough just in my spare time at the weekend, hanging out. It's nice. It's just
such a good game, that one.
Man, FromSoft worlds are just so enjoyable to be in. They're just such an awesome experience.
I hope
Elden Ring's even better. It's there's so many secrets everywhere.
I hope that runs decently well on Steam Deck. Dark Souls 3. That'd be cool.
Oh, that's true.
That would be fun. I'd play that in bed. Don't have to get the gamer stance eventually.
You're gonna get your the upright position. You're gonna get your Steam Deck in February, right?
Yeah, so the first units, I assume, is what that would be.
Hopefully, it doesn't get delayed again.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah.
Speaking of consoles, though, the Analog Pocket they've now announced that delivery is kicking off next month, so that's finally rolling out.
Finally.
So at least that'll come before Steam Deck. Hey, whoa.
You never know.
They said I'll get mine by Christmas.
A Black Friday sale suddenly cuts it down.
It'll ship December 31st, right? In December.
They said shipping 14th to the 30th. I guess they didn't say it'll arrive on that time. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited for that. That of all the consoles that have come out in the last 2 years, that's the one I'm most excited for. But it all depends on what consoles it can support, like the day after it comes out. Because normally, what happens with an analog console is that you get the device and it can support, like whatever it's supposed to support. But then you go to I can't remember the name of the forum. It's Atari something or whatnot. And Kevtris, who's the developer for the cores, has a bunch of other systems it unofficially supports that you then load on. And if that thing can play like NES, Super NES, Neo Geo, Genesis, like Sega Master System, like if it could do all those, and it's that portable system, and you could dock it and play it on your big TV, like it's going to be like the one retro console to rule them all. But if it only plays portable games, its utility to me is definitely diminished by that.
I just want to play Minish Cap. That's all I want to play.
I got you. I was just playing Metroid Fusion last night.
Oh.
Which is
little throwback there.
Advanced game.
Yeah, Game Boy Advance.
I wanted to ask Eric's, how was your experience with like the main kind of bosses in the Elden Ring network test? So I guess like the horse sentinel dude, the dragon, the main boss. What was your experience like?
I was actually quite surprised, right? So I didn't really struggle too much against many things. So the horse boss killed me a few times, but I will say, right, and this is the thing that I'll be interested to see what happens in the final thing. I use the summons a lot. So I went to fight the horse.
Busted.
Yeah, so the thing is, the thing as well is that I definitely and people are commenting this in like a lot of my footage, and I was kind of just like testing mechanics and a lot of my gameplay. So I cheesed the hell out of all the bosses in that I would go in and I would summon my pack of wolves, knowing they would die, but they would keep them busy. And then when the boss is busy with the wolves, I would charge up my weapon art. I'd just be like, bam, because I went through and I got if you go and you stop the carriage, you can get the iron armor set. And if you get the special armor set, it gives you the golden sword. And the golden sword does the spinning vortex, which you slam on the ground. So I basically just went behind the very first time I fought the final boss of the demo. He killed me the first time. Then I went back with my wolves and I just said hello to my golden sword and he just died. And most bosses, I did that. So I'll admit, I didn't fight anything in the kind of conventional Soulsy way where it's like you don't have stuff, unless of course it was forced. Apart from when I fought the dragon. The dragon is probably the thing that gave me the biggest challenges because I think I died probably about 10 times. But the victory was the most epic thing because I got him down to about half health and I used all my potions and I was on literally a pixel. You couldn't see my health. And I did the rest of the fight not taking a single hit. Yeah. And I went into like ultra instinct mode and I was just like rolling and dodging. I was like, it was great. But yeah, I was interested because I had a fantastic time. But there was no boss in that network test that made me like bang my head against the wall like I have done when I played like Dark Souls 3 or like Sekiro or things like that. So, not sure.
Yes, so I went into the final boss and I was using the knife. It was called Reduvia. It basically slings blood at enemies. It just slings blood at them and makes them bleed. And I was that was kind of my main weapon that I was really enjoying.
Not how bleeding works.
I know, throw blood, they bleed. That's how it works, Brian. So I used it against the final main boss of the network test, and it was destroying him to where I was like, I'm putting this away. I don't want, if I get to the point where it's too difficult and, I'm running out of time because you only have 3 hours in each of these network tests, then I'll go ahead and, use the blood knife on him. But I just switched to the polearm and just 1v1'd him, no summons, no magic, no nothing, because I was just, so bosses, even if they are very aggressive or they have a lot of attacks that don't give you a lot of room, eventually they do just do the thing where they kind of slow walk towards you, right? There's always periods where they kind of do the slow walk.
They're catching
And
their
while they're
breath.
doing that, I could just throw blood at him the whole time he's just slow walking at me. So I was, and also so I don't know what they're gonna do with balancing, but that particular weapon art, I could spam it and it hardly used any of the FP, which is basically mana. It hardly used anything at all. So
I would assume that the balancing was probably ongoing, right?
Yeah, I think in a couple network tests, like they tend to up the power of things because they want you to not get stuck on one thing for the entire network test. They want you to actually experience the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I was also surprised that you could even summon in that main boss fight because they do kind of pick and choose where you can and cannot summon things. So I didn't even know that you could do that. I was surprised.
I feel like it's going to be one of those things where I feel like we probably also the network test kind of got like a bit of a skewed vision on that as well, because like a lot of the bosses just in the open world. I'm also be interested to see like, are all those bosses going to be where they are in the map, or did they just like dump a load of stuff in there so you can fight more things in the network test? So like it'll be interesting to see if that's actually how it is. But I wonder whether, because for example, when you go into some of the catacombs, like, and there is of course the blue line, it's like no summons beyond this point. I feel like as you progress further in the game, we're going to encounter more and more of those areas where it's like no summons. I almost kind of feel like summons probably have been created with like the open world in mind. It's like you're running around the world, you're going to have someone run up on you, you'd be like, oh crap, let me use some summons to kind of give me some breathing room. I would be willing to bet that a lot of the like story bosses you fight later on, you're probably going to be in a zone where like, no, you're on your own, mate. So
yeah,
I mean,
that
that's
was
just
my thought as
speculation,
well.
but yeah.
I kind of felt the same thing because with the open world, with Elden Ring, it's kind of a different mindset to get into because in Dark Souls, you're like every boss, you're like being very methodical and careful, and you know everything, especially every boss, you're gonna take your time with it. But in Elden Ring, because the open world isn't necessarily supposed to be this ball busting experience the whole way, I think they want you to be able to take out some dudes a little easier than the main like big beefy bosses.
Interesting.
So I will use summons in the open world probably because I don't need to be stuck for an hour just like doing something that's completely meaningless.
Right. Yeah.
I do like how
I will use summons anywhere available, and in fact, will cheat and cheese any boss.
Throw blood on anybody.
To do so. Yeah,
that's why
blood dagger. I'm all aboard.
Reduvia, it was great.
Sign me up.
One of my favorite experiences. Admittedly, it was a bug, but like I re-rolled as a champion afterwards, and the champion is the one that starts with the flaming dragon head. And there's a bug in the network test
How do you
where
not?
that. Yeah, but the thing is, there was a bug in the network test where that move wouldn't use FP at all. So I would just sit there and be like, burn, use it again and again and again. So I went back to fight the final boss, had not leveled up at all, so I was level 5. And I just like put down the wolves to distract him, ran behind him, was like on fire, down, stab, on fire. I was like, this is the best feeling ever.
Now we're talking.
Cheesy. Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
That sounds just my speed.
I guess it's just balancing, like doing that kind of stuff, right, against certain things. But like with the main end boss, I really wanted to see all of his moveset and all the mechanics that he can do, because there's a real special feeling with those games where you feel like you've mastered their moveset and it just feels fluid and it clicks. And I really like that
like
feeling.
Parrying Champ Gunder over and over. My God.
Yeah.
It's the best feeling ever. Yeah. They haven't done beta network tests, stuff like this before, have they? Right? Is this the first time?
They've done network tests.
Apparently, yeah,
they have.
They did a Bloodborne? Oh, I just didn't remember it then. Because I'm assuming that a part of that 3 months that they still have is also a bunch of balancing that they're tweaking.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. So. Yeah.
Yeah. Because why not just release it? Right? If it was done. So optimizations, balancing of the game, the bosses, making things feel right with the weapons and all that. I'm sure that's all part of the polish.
I'm sure if they could have gotten a pre-Christmas release this year, I mean, talk about a year that's ready for a game like that to come out.
Right.
That would have been amazing. They would have been perfect for December. I would have just got lost in that world.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they also don't want to be in a Cyberpunk 2077 situation where they have the perfect release window, but they don't have the game that goes with it.
Nobody wants that situation.
And they are being who they are. They just slap their release date anywhere, and they're like, "Good luck, contenders."
Yeah. Good luck.
Let me just slip in here.
Well, it's not like they have like this overwhelming sales record. Like this, I think this is probably the most anticipated game they've ever created.
I think
right?
you're correct. Yeah.
Mm.
It seems to
Yeah.
have gotten the attention of people who don't even know what FromSoft is or haven't played any of their games.
Yeah.
Right. I'd say From Software is a critical darling, but not necessarily the biggest mass seller of video games.
Mm. I also feel like this might end up having the mass appeal because I know every single time a Soulsborne game comes out, there's always the discussion of like difficulty and accessibility, and of course, like and again, like
Right.
I mean, it's a difficult thing to do because again, like I feel like games 100% should have accessibility options because if someone's has like limited ability to play games, I feel like everyone should be able to enjoy things and stuff. But I feel like the interesting thing about this one is obviously they're not going to put a difficulty setting in a Souls game. But I think the introduction of a few of the mechanics they've done, specifically like obviously they're going to have to be balanced, but let's say you are someone that's like, I really want to play this game, but I'm just not like as skilled. Then maybe their solution to an easy mode is like, you've got weapon skills, you've got summons, you've got not only those summons, you can of course, as you've always been able to, call in some buddies to help you out, and even just down to something like the guard counter, the new move, I think is a really good alternative. Like it's not it's not the same as parry, because if you're a parry god, then obviously you have the safety and the reward from doing that. But like the guard counter is so easy to execute and it's actually quite effective. It's just not as safe. But I feel like there are a few more tools now whereby like if you're not super good at these games, it's probably easier for you to maybe get into it. I'm still not saying it's easy,
like
but I
if
do
you're
feel like
reviewing for Polygon, give you this
you might get part of the first boss. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I definitely think it's the most accessible for people. You've got summons, you've got magic, you've got the guard counter. You can, of course, it's not Sekiro, so you can level bosses. So if you're struggling, you can go level up. You
got a horse.
You got a horse. Actually, I think defeating the dragon on the horse was the play, but I didn't want to do that.
It's funny, like every time I went into a boss, I just forgot that I had a horse. And every time in my video, everyone's like, you can jump over the flames with the horse. I was like, oh yeah.
I was like,
attack his ankles.
There's one flame move. I was like, I'll just take it. If it's gonna hit me, it's fine. I'll just take that one flame move. It's fine.
I hid behind a rock. I found my own rock and I crouched there every single time he went to go and fight. I ran back and I was like, I'm safe.
It was actually super cool fighting the dragon. Because there's some
it's an
ruins.
impressive looking thing too.
Yes. And there's some ruins nearby, and when he breathes fire on it, all of them come toppling down, and you see all the embers and all of the stone. They did some real good stuff with it. I looked up sales of Dark Souls games. Dark Souls 3 sold the most with 10 million copies.
Wow.
That's good sales. That's real good.
Yeah.
But before that, Dark Souls 2 was 2.5 million, Dark Souls 2.3.
That's good, but
Bloodborne was 2 million. So Dark Souls 3
that was only
really
on one console.
True. Sekiro was 5 million. So
yeah, but
Sekiro was intimidating. Even though Dark Souls fans were like, this one's fucking hard.
I think because they play Dark Souls.
Yeah, it wasn't a Dark Souls specific game. They changed the formula pretty dramatically. In fact, when there was a Dark Souls boss and you'd learned the Sekiro skill set, then like I
hardest
struggled
boss
big
in the
time.
game.
Yeah, hardest boss in the game because it was like it's actually now it's time to play Dark Souls.
The 10 million is great for Dark Souls 3, but the other ones like would not be seen as a success for like a Tomb Raider game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah, especially selling like 1 million. Demon Souls had 1 million sales. The original.
Interesting.
The original. I wonder how well it's hard to judge sales for the PS5 because so many people still can't get it.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard.
Well, so I think another combination of this is that there's anticipation for next gen games and what these developers are going to be able to do with the new hardware. Obviously, it's coming out on wait, is it coming out on old gen as well? Elden Rings?
Yes.
It is.
PS4 and
yeah, so I do forget about that, but I think a lot of people are still just anticipating new games for new hardware, and so that's part of the hype. Is that open world.
Yeah, you could see, going back to what I was talking about before too, with that Digital Foundry video where they're comparing all the versions. You can see a real difference between the PS4 and the PS5.
Yeah.
Versions of the game. Like it's much sharper on the PS5, and there's just more like foliage, grass. It's just the world looks lusher and more populated. It's a big difference between the two consoles. Essentially, playing it though, it's going to be the same game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really exciting. Even just in the network test, when I was showing people my footage, they were like, "Oh my god, I didn't find that." And this is a tiny portion of the game that people had, 9+ hours to explore.
There's going to be so much, and
That's
it also
cool.
just like down to there's I don't know. I mean, I only discovered like near the very end as well, but there's also different stuff that shows up at different times of day. So like on the bridge, if it's nighttime, there's the dark night there. And I'm like, so now we're going to have an open world with loads of secrets that can potentially change depending on the time of day as well.
Yeah.
And we know there's like collectibles in the form of like summons and weapon skills and all these different things. Like there is going to be so much hidden in this game. It's like it's going to have a lot of replay value.
There's so much. I found the
Sounds
jellyfish
incredible.
summon. And I was
really? I never saw that. Oh,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like,
No,
it was
jellyfish
like you could have a jellyfish. Yeah, he like spits poison at people. It's great.
What?
Cool.
All right, we're running out of time. I really want to talk about the game of the year.
Game
Game
Ask you guys, Game
Game
Awards,
Awards. Yep.
2021. I want to ask you guys,
Unacceptable.
what the fuck is with these lists?
I think people even play games.
Do you even know what a video game is?
Exactly. I'm sorry, but this is unacceptable behavior.
What was the
This
list? What was the list for their nominations?
Do you want to start with Game of the Year? We got a bunch of them. We could do the best multiplayer game, best art direction. There's all sorts of. You just want to get right into it with the Game of the Year?
Let's go get right into it with Game of the Year first.
All right, so the Game of the Year nominations are for the year 2021, Deathloop, It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village. Cut. End of list.
Now listen, right? Before we dive into the individual games, now there are some great games on there, obviously,
Yes,
right? You know,
there
Deathloop, Metroid Dread, and stuff. And to be clear, I'm not saying that any of the games on that list are bad games or undeserving. They are fantastic in their own right. But I just feel like I know also this year has been a weird year for games. A lot of things have been pushed out. So the kind of what you would. I hate to sort of phrase it that way because it's not like these games are bad. It's like, but what you would often kind of see in these kind of lists, you're sort of Uncharted and Last of Us and Death Strandings, and there weren't one of those ones. But like, there's some games that just got jibbed. Like, where's Hitman 3? Where's Monster Hunter Rise? Maybe not Monster Hunter Rise doesn't need to go in that section. But anyway, like, where's Hitman 3 and where's Eastwood? I'm sorry,
And
but
Returnal.
where's Eastwood?
Returnal was not there. Returnal was like it was a game that a lot of people were like, wow, this is something really special.
Two half people, that's why they couldn't play it.
PS5 only people.
PS5.
I mean, I like the games on this list. And I do think that the best game of the year is on this list. But
Metroid Dread.
There are some games on this list that I feel like any other year, they don't even touch this list. Any other year. I guess like this is definitely the first time a Ratchet and Clank game has been on a Game of the Year nominations list, right? And I'm not saying that, and this I don't think is that much better than any other Ratchet and Clank game. And I like Ratchet and Clank games. Like I've played almost all of them, and I really like them. But they're just not Game of the Year material because they're all the same.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, like that's the thing with Ratchet and Clank. Like, it didn't do anything new. It was like visually, it was phenomenal.
It looked great.
Yeah, amazing.
But it's like, it was definitely one of those games where it's just safe. Like, if you like Ratchet and Clank, it's more of what you like. But there was nothing new.
Yeah, it was a really good looking 3D platformer.
Yeah. Yeah. Where's Kenna?
Yeah, Kena was a fantastic game.
Yeah.
Like really good. In general, maybe this is unreasonable, but maybe it shouldn't be unreasonable. There are not a lot of indie game mentions in a year where I think indie games made better games than AAA games this year.
It was also a good year for them to shine because there weren't as many big AAA games that came out this year. It was a really good year.
Yeah, and even then,
true.
even in a year where indie games have killed it, and there's not a ton of like these massive, crazy AAA titles, they're still not really getting a lot of mentions. Even in the other categories, they're not really there.
I don't really understand why they restrict the categories to so few games either. Like I don't know how these are selected. Do you guys know how these are selected and why there could only be like 5 games per list?
I'm not sure the reason behind it. No,
I'd imagine it's digestible via media. You know, you look at it, you
It's
see
the
five
media.
things. No, as you're scrolling down, a page or you're watching a video, like you see, if you saw 20 items, you'd be like, what am I looking at?
Yeah.
But these are just the nominations, right? Like, I don't know. Best independent game. I'm going to read these ones off. Death's Door, Kena Bridge of Spirits, Inscription, Loop Hero, 12 Minutes. I'm going to go ahead and say 12 Minutes doesn't have any business near any game of the year list. I'm sorry.
Why is Eastwood not in the independent list? Like,
why isn't Eastwood not in there? Why isn't Cyber Shadow in there? Cyber Shadow, I think, was one of the best games of the year by like a long shot. I would argue it belongs on in Game of the Year, but obviously it's a niche audience that it appeals to, so it wouldn't make sense there. But independent game, it fucking certainly does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There was the indie game category. There was so many choices.
Yeah,
that's a tough one.
So many.
Also, with the reaction that Forza Horizon 5 has gotten, being the highest rated game of the year, and it not being on the Game of the Year list, like what the fuck is up with that?
Is that because it came out? Because I remember there's like for Game of the Year, there's always that cutoff point, isn't there? Is it? Did
it
made
the cutoff.
Did
it?
Make the
cutoff.
It made the cutoff?
Yes,
wow.
It's on. I believe it's on the Racing Game of the Year. I'm gonna scroll down and make sure. I'm pretty sure it's up there for Racing Game of the Year. Yeah, it's with for sports and racing game.
Oh wow!
F1 2021, FIFA 2022, Hot Wheels, Forza Horizon 5, and Riders Republic, which I also hear is fantastic.
What is going on?
Yeah, like the highest rated game of the year, like across the board, is not on Game of the Year, the Game of the Year list, which to me is suspicious.
Sounds flawed.
You're looking a bit sussy. Well, we're never getting
it. May be. So I have heard that this list comes from. They send basically ballots to media outlets. So like Newsweek will get one, GameSpot will get one, IGN will get one, and it may be that not enough people at the outlets had played Horizon 5 by the time they had to fill out this ballot to get it on.
Maybe,
even though it technically came out in time. But
I feel like
strange.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Like, I mean, if that's how it works, I feel like I get there's time schedules, like not you can't like complete every single like 50-hour epic game. But I feel like there needs to be, if you're going to be on a panel for this, I feel like there needs to be a baseline minimum of like you need to have played these games,
every game.
Yeah, like if
well, I think that's why they send it to outlets that have multiple people in them, right? So the multiple people can have the discussion. Because nobody's gonna play every game. Like that's
not right? Oh yeah. To be media, you must play every game. This is the new rule.
Every game.
Every game.
All of them.
I mean, I played a lot of games on this list, but nowhere near all of them. And some of the games I can't wait to play. Like I'm really still looking forward to playing Psychonauts 2. I just haven't had a chance yet. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes you'll be halfway through a game that you're really enjoying, and then another game will come out that you've been anticipating for like a year. So you just kind of switch and you never go back,
Also, normally when they have these lists and they come up at the end of the year, like normally we're so conflicted. We're like, oh, it's so hard to choose. Like, which one are you gonna pick? I look at these lists and I'm like, no, like not to say they're bad. I'm just like, no.
My number 3 are so set in stone. Like my 3 favorite games of the year are so set in stone. But my 4 and 5 are basically like, I don't know, fucking pick something.
Yeah. Yeah, that is pretty true. Yeah. Why are your 3 so far?
I'm not gonna say because we're gonna do a game of the year show.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I'm not gonna spill the beans before we spill the beans.
Steal your ideas.
That's right. I don't want you guys to bogart my list.
Are you surprised that Resident Evil Village was on there?
No. I thought Resident Evil Village was good. It wasn't as good as 7, but I thought it was good.
It got good reception, but it didn't like take to light fire. It didn't.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Single player game.
Yeah.
Well, so I think what happened was people got really excited about the castle and Lady Dimitrescu and the daughters and like that storyline, right? Where they take virgins and turn them into wine.
Right.
Like we played the demo of the maiden with that and all of that. But she was
I bet that really resonated with you.
did. But she was such a tiny part of the game. And I actually think her part and the dollhouse part were like the best parts for me. Both of which were very small parts. So it seemed like people enjoyed it generally, and there was a lot of hype before it came out. But then after its initial release window, just no one ever talked about it ever again.
Yeah, that's what I'm commenting on. It just it blipped and then it was gone.
Resident Evil 7 was such a revolutionary Resident Evil, right? Like the tone was different than any other one. The first person perspective was different. I think this one takes a lot of what Resident Evil 7 did well, but didn't innovate nearly as much as 7.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the story and the setting were as compelling as Resident Evil 7 either. They were more like Resident Evil 4. They were like a knockoff of Resident Evil 4 more than 7.
I would describe it as like kind of a train horror show where you're just kind of going from room to room of different horror experiences is kind of what Resident Evil Village was, because they were all very different, the different like subsections.
Yeah, it's almost like
I like the game though. I thought it was a good game.
Yeah, it's almost like that with like the characters. They kind of I see a point though. For that week, everyone was talking about just like the lady and the twins, right? It's like almost like like that overshadowed the game itself because like afterwards, once everyone had mentioned them, it's like I never saw any mention of like, oh, the gameplay or this fight or this, that, and the other. Whereas, as you say, like the previous ones, people would like talk about that stuff. So it's almost like it was great from a marketing point of view because everyone's chatting about it. But then, like I don't know what happens in the game. I just know there's a tall lady.
If they could have anticipated how popular that villain would have been, I think she would have had a much greater role in the game, right? I don't think they really realized like that they just hit a nerve on the internet with
maybe
with an 8-foot-tall vampire lady.
Watch how all future Capcom games have got like tall ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that fight.
The next Street Fighter game. Chun-Li is now 9 foot tall. Okay.
And she'll eat you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This list to me, like, there is also some critical darlings on here that I didn't necessarily get on with. That's fine, like that happens to everybody, right? It's like, but I just feel like there's a lot of room on this list. I don't know, especially for Game of the Year. I'd love to see the list expand to hold 10 games. Like give it a little at least have some more nominations on there, especially in a year like this when I don't feel like the games that you pick are like that. I don't know.
Maybe that's the point behind it.
They don't stand out above everything else so much.
I feel like that's the point behind this year of it being kind of a weird release year. It's a bunch of delays,
Best ongoing game. I kind of wanted to read this one off. Apex Legends, Call of Duty Warzone, Final Fantasy 14, Genshin Impact, and Fortnite. I wanted to note that Destiny wasn't even on here, even though I think this was the strongest year for Destiny's ongoing game.
It was. Yeah, I think like across the community, it's one of the few years where people are like, yeah, Destiny this year has been fantastic as an ongoing narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have made sense for it to be an ongoing.
Got snubbed once again.
I, however, don't play any of those other games, so maybe I'm just ignorant to how good those other games are doing it compared to the game I do play.
I mean, I see a bunch of complaining about Apex and about what they've done and how they've ruined certain things and they're trying other things. And obviously, Warzone is Warzone and Activision's a mess.
Apex was literally unplayable for like a small period. Like
there you go.
The server, people were getting DDoSed and like servers and hackers and all sorts of bad stuff.
And Genshin Impact has had a massive fall off from where it was.
It'll probably go to Final Fantasy 14, to be honest, because that's seen a huge upsurge this year.
I think it should go to Final Fantasy 14.
Here's a good one. Best role-playing game includes
Cyberpunk 2077.
Now, I enjoyed Cyberpunk 2077, but including it on a best of list when literally the PlayStation version was taken off the store because it performed so badly. What the fuck?
Best of.
It has multiple nominations too, across categories.
But best role playing game, like you could a game that doesn't play very well can easily have best soundtrack, right? I don't even think it affects.
True.
Like that's fine.
Yeah.
Best art design can go to a game that wasn't fun to play, but
Right.
best role playing game to a game that was pulled off the PlayStation 4 store.
And this says specifically for the best game designed with rich player character customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences. That's what their definition of best role playing is. I don't know why they add the massively multiplayer experiences.
That's weird.
I mean, technically, by your definition, I mean, even if the game doesn't run very well, you can still play a role in said game.
Most anticipated game. Elden Ring,
Wild.
God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Starfield. I feel like this is just the same list as last year and the year before.
And Breath of the Wild will win. Sorry, Elden Ring. Sorry, God of War. If you're not Zelda.
Elden Ring might win that just because they had the technical beta,
Because
while
it
the voting
exists,
was happening.
True. And as
what
we
would
can
you
tell,
guys vote for that on that list? What would you guys vote for?
Elden Ring. Elden Ring for me.
Elden Ring for sure. Like Starfield, we don't even really know when that's coming out, and I haven't seen any gameplay. Like
we don't
it's
know
just,
what it is. Yeah.
we don't really know anything about it.
I am
Zelda
looking forward to it, but
doesn't exist either, really. So you just have
real.
it's real. It is real. Horizon Forbidden West, God of War, and Elden Ring. So yeah,
Elden Ring is the only game that I've seen that I'm actually gonna like the gameplay of, and that I've actually seen. So that wins by default for me. But if I had to pick between the other four, then I'm definitely going God of War Ragnarok. But I haven't seen it yet, so
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be more God of War.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to talk about on there?
Let's see. I think there was probably one. I am surprised how little that Returnal was on here, just in general.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 5 names. I'm sorry. Go talk about Returnal. I totally interrupted you.
No, I was just saying I was surprised. I was just surprised.
Yeah, that game hit with people.
This is a good game.
I wonder what the sales numbers were like. Maybe it just didn't hit it with enough people to resonate up to a game of the year list.
Best multiplayer.
I'm gonna read 5 names.
Yes.
Dream, Fusely, Gaullus, eBay, and The Graphic.
Yes.
What are these?
They are content creators.
Oh. Okay.
Dream is he is trending on Twitter like every week from, I don't know, some babies getting upset or fangirling. I can't really tell. He's mega famous.
Is he?
Okay.
Mega. But I don't watch any of them. So.
I'm just saying, why is DCP
I've never even heard of
there?
any of them.
Yeah. Why we
DCP?
have many podcasts.
Exactly.
Yeah, so like every year, I think everybody's unhappy with the Game of the Year awards.
There's some years where it's not that bad. But this year I think everyone was like, huh? But maybe it's because there haven't been, like you said, those big, massive, crazy games that have come out. It's been a lot of pretty solid, good games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that's how I felt a lot of the year. Is even up until playing Kana, I was like, I don't really know if I've played my game of the year, as in the one that I would vote for on a show. And I kind of had that experience all year where it's I've played good games and I've had games that I really enjoy, but I haven't had one that's been oh my God.
Watts, I think I had the exact same experience. I think Kana was the first game of the year that was stand up and pay attention to this game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because Because I think for me, like it was kind of similar like that for a while, and then it was I mean, Tales of Arise. No, before that it was Tales of Arise, and I was like, oh, I finally played like a game that like. Bear in mind, this is in a year where like Monster Hunter Rise dropped, which obviously I'm a huge Monster Hunter fan, but like, and I love that game, but it just like for the first year there's Monster Hunter, it wasn't like my game of the year. It's just like a fantastic game. But yeah, Tales of Arise happened, and then of course Eastwood, and then similar thing. I played Kena, and then I played Metroid Dread, and I was like, oh, now I've just hit all the bangers.
Yeah. Metroid Dread for me is definitely like it's a clear. But anyways, I don't want to get into that stuff. Save for the
Hitman 3 not being on a Game of the Year list too.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's because any argument you could throw at Hitman 3 about it being the same as Hitman 2, I think you could easily throw at Ratchet and Clank or Resident Evil.
Totally,
So it's like, I would argue it's a better game than either of those. I will argue, frankly.
Yes, exactly. To be honest, though, I look forward to the Game Awards, not for the awards and not for the trailers, just to see how many times Jeff Keighley talks about Kojima being his best friend. That's it, right? Just,
what's the record so far? Like 6?
Oh, I've lost count. He just every time he's like, oh, my good friend. He couldn't be here today, but my good friend. He's gonna phone in today. Did I tell you he's my friend? By the way, my friend is working on a game.
Well, you know where Hitman 3 did end up? In best VR AR.
Yeah.
I never even played the VR version of the VR version, so I didn't know what it's like.
I tried it. I like the regular version better.
Okay. I don't think I need to be that immersed in killing people. I think I'm okay being third person killing. I don't quite need to be like, I'm here.
Yeah. The thing I like about Hitman is kind of like the craziness of what ends up happening when shit all falls apart. And it wasn't really manageable in VR for me. At least not in the way that I could relate to from playing the game normally.
Yeah. Cool. Well,
I look forward to the Game Awards. They show off a lot of new games. A lot of announcements happen there now. It's kind of like as hype as E3 is. You know, they show just as many world premieres and never before seen stuff. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is for me too. Because I'm always like, that was on there? That's weird. And so I just don't put as much stock into the Game Award type of stuff. It's more like flash, or flashy stuff. There's less substance and more graphics and pizzazz that's going on.
It's fun. It's fun to watch. Yeah, it's fun. Especially like watch with your community on Twitch or something is really fun because they're like, world premiere, what's it gonna be? Yeah, it's always a really good time.
Bloodborne
2 now in development. We'd be like, wait.
Yeah, it's just now in development. Doesn't even have like the graphic, the logo.
We have an idea.
Would you guys rather see a remake, a Demon Souls quality remake of Bloodborne, or Bloodborne 2?
Bloodborne 2.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Because
we need to start moving forward, right? Listen, the remakes are cool, but people these days people are doing too many remakes. I'm just like, listen, right? It's like the meme, like tell me you're running out of ideas without telling me you're running out of ideas, right? Like stop remaking games, make some new games. I'll happily wait.
Yeah.
I do think that like a Demon Souls level remake of Bloodborne would go a long way of getting more people to play the game because frame rate.
Oh, I would love it.
Pretty bad. It's not great.
Oh, that game is horrific. The frame rate, it like regularly drops to like single digits.
No.
And they never. Yes.
It didn't for me.
Oh yeah, because your PlayStation is somehow different from millions of other PlayStations.
Single digits? It didn't drop
single
down
digits.
To 1 frame.
No, single digits is in like 9.
Yeah, I don't recall it getting that stuttery. I recall it dropping.
It does it early in the game. There's a bridge that I think it drops down like 15. That's real early in the game.
I feel like the PS4 Pro fixed some of that for me.
No, it did not. There was no PS4 Pro patch for Bloodborne.
Right, but like there's more power behind it. It's not like it needed to unlock some of that power to be able to utilize some of that to smooth out. I don't know. I felt like there was patches that came out that smoothed some of those things out later on in its lifetime. Have you played it recently?
There may have been. I played that game. No, I played it at launch, and I stopped playing it at launch.
Yeah, launch was rough, but later on, because I've done several playthroughs, and now when I play it, like I don't have nauseating drops before. Like the load times were insanely long before. Remember when it first launched?
Yeah,
it would take.
They did fix the load times for sure.
Yeah, so there was definitely optimization stuff that's been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, though, there is a version of that game that's 60 FPS that like a guy hacked together, but it'll only run on like dev, PlayStation 4 dev consoles. So it's not like available to the public. But he had said that that the actual gameplay is tied to that 30 FPS, so it'd be incredibly difficult to update it to a 60 FPS title.
Yeah,
even though he did it.
That was the same thing with the original Dark Souls on PC. They had like a 60 FPS patch, but all the physics were off because it was tied to 30 FPS.
Yeah.
A
lot of stuff
if you climbed down a ladder.
Yeah, the damage rates, tick rates, and all that were off.
There's a bunch of stuff that's tied to FPS. I think people are just now even starting to realize how much of a game, like the way it fundamentally works, can be tied to FPS. We saw it a lot with Destiny, right? Like where things worked really well, 30 FPS on console, and then on PC things are just broken.
Destiny 2 released on PC, man. So much shit was just weird. But it was worth it.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it is time we wrap up this episode, guys. Episode 1.
It was shutting us down.
Shutting it down, man. Coming in here and shutting it down. All right. Thank you very much for chilling and hanging. We appreciate it. Shout out to our Patreon members and our Twitch subs for supporting the shows. You guys are awesome. Thanks for everyone just listening and hanging out. We appreciate it.
Thanks for hanging.
When are we doing our Game of the Year episode?
We should do it.
It's
December?
a good question. The Game Awards is on Thursday, December 9th.
So after that,
we should do it after the Game Awards. We should do it because and the week after that is the week before I go on Christmas holiday. So we should do that. We should round it out there.
There you go.
So that would be December
13th.
The 13th. That would be good because then we can go. Oh, I can't believe it won! Oh my god!
Are we going to want to talk about Halo multiplayer single player that day though? Because it's just going to have come out.
True. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll work out. We'll fine tune it. Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
I feel like you should watch the fake Game Awards with Jeff Keighley first, and then you can come to us for the real Game Awards.
Yeah,
we want to do it before that because then we'll set your expectations so high that the real Game Awards can not possibly sustain that level of awesomeness.
True.
There you go. All right, we'll figure it out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
See you later.